Welcome to an undisclosed location. This is Murder Incorporated. I am Buddy.
And this is Harley.
Today we are going to bring you a case of one sick and twisted individual. This man goes by many names. Some call him the Monster of the River. Others call him the Rochester Killer. But most know him as the Genesee River Killer. We're just going to call him the Devil in the Flesh. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Harley.
Thank you, buddy. I'm going to start this episode by saying, in our opinion, everything out of Arthur Shawcross's mouth is bullshit. You're not going to hear a ton of quotes from him because everything he spews is manipulative and just plain untrue.
Because he is evil and twisted and, well, I said it right in the beginning, he's just a disgusting man.
Yes.
Just wait till you hear the story. This is not for the faint of heart.
No, not at all. Not at all. Hold on. This is our truth. And that is what you're here for anyway. Arthur John Shawcross was born in the early hours of June 6, 1945, at the U.S. Naval Hospital in Kittery, Maine. He was born 2 months premature. At the time of his birth, his mother, Bessie, was just 18 years old, and his father, Corporal Arthur Roy Shawcross, was 21. 2 weeks after the birth, Bessie took baby Arthur and moved to Watertown, New York, to live with her sister-in-law until Arthur Sr. had completed his military service.
So Watertown, that's up towards Canada.
Yep. By 1958, his family and 3 other related families had built small homes in a rural area 6 miles northwest of Watertown, near the town of Brownville, which became known as Shawcross Corners. This extended family included 13 children.
13. Lucky number 13. How do you like that?
The story just starts great. Young Arthur, on the other hand, right from the get-go, was not what you would call a normal child.
Joy.
Yeah, especially after his little brother Jimmy was born. He was a chronic bedwetter and was still talking like a baby when he was 6.
Chronic bedwetter. Check 1.
Yeah, check 1. The following year, he started running away from home, which family members dismissed as merely a ploy to gain attention, which it probably was. By the time he was 8, he had began to show many other behavioral problems. He seemed to hate children younger than himself and teased them until they cried.
So he was a big bully.
Big bully. He became obsessed with his sister Jeannie. He invented imaginary friends and spoke with them in strange voices.
He was obsessed with his sister Jeannie?
Yeah, he was having sexual fantasies about her.
Oh, man.
And later on, he made up stories about how they would go down on each other from the age of 14 to 17.
He made up stories?
Yeah, it was untrue.
Oh, my God. What a sick man.
Yeah.
Okay.
His classmates constantly teased him and called him Oddie, which would send him into a rage. By and large, Arthur was a loner whose weird behavior made it hard for him to mix with others. And he would often be seen sitting alone in an empty classroom while others would be outside playing. Believe it or not, his grades were above average at this time.
Okay.
Despite his odd behavior and speaking like a baby. This did not last. For in the 3rd grade, his mental health was deteriorating, as were his grades. He, at this young age, was already given psychological exams, which concluded that he had feelings of inadequacy and rejection, and a growing hostility that he felt towards his mother.
Oh, joy.
Yeah. Regardless of the results, he was later promoted to the 4th grade. Mm-hmm. No psychopath left behind. And then he ended up doing 2 years.
Oh, joy.
Yeah. During this time, during a runaway, he made it to the Canadian border. Impressive. Not quite. He thought he was going south. So, it was a little off.
Yeah, just a little bit.
By the time Arthur was 9, Arthur's mother had found out about his father's other wife and child in Australia.
A little down under, huh?
Yeah. To say the least, she didn't take it well.
I guess not.
I mean, it was a different continent. I don't know what she was upset about.
Yeah, that's all right, you know. just not even in the States. You're good.
Just kidding, honey. She took her frustration and anger out on anyone in the house that she could. In English, Greek, and Italian. Mm-hmm. But honestly, it would have taken a straight saint not to curse Artie out. I mean, she accused her husband of sleeping with every woman they came across.
Yeah.
Even women on TV that were beautiful, you would have to look away because she got so jealous.
Oh, wow.
She ruined this man after finding out about the child.
Yeah, well.
She also ruined little Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur soon became more and more withdrawn and became more antisocial. Arthur grew increasingly violent and would often beat up the neighborhood children.
Oh, joy.
He became well known for his explosive temper. His own cousins felt that he had come from the devil. That's what they said, that he came from the devil. Due to the fact that not only would he beat you, but after he had won, continue beating you until someone ripped him off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, family or not, you were going down.
He didn't let you up. Jeez.
Yeah. He also began breaking into houses and stealing from local businesses and lighting fires.
Oh, there's check number 2.
Yeah, on the McDonald triad. Also, he was now beating up his imaginary friends because they couldn't stand to listen to him talking like a baby.
Wow. All
And
right,
was wetting the bed still as a teenager.
Yeah, wow. So we got a real winner here.
Yeah.
All right.
He was bad right out of the womb. Let's just say that.
Yep. Yep.
He would, in the middle of the night, be walking around the neighborhood, and people would hear him chanting over and over again. Finally, they realized what he was chanting. Die, 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 over and over again.
God.
Everywhere he went, he'd walk in a perfectly straight line, going through puddles, over hills, through swamps. It didn't matter.
And he was how old?
At this time, he was probably 6, 7.
Oh, wow.
He became more and more violent. Crazy boy, he was known as. His own he had lots of bad nicknames. This guy did not get any good nicknames.
I guess not.
I just realized that. His own family was terrified of him. One time, his cousin called him stupid. And for the next 2 months, every time she looked out her window, there he was, just staring at the house.
Oh, my God.
Waiting for her to come out.
Oh, that poor girl.
Yeah.
Don't call a psychopath stupid.
No. Eventually, he got her with a baseball bat to the shins.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Another time, he got in an argument with her and her boyfriend.
Okay.
So he threatened her with an axe. She was so terrified of him that even as an adult, she was convinced he was going to come after her with this axe.
Well, yeah. Oh,
he knocked on her door when she was an adult, and she refused to answer because she was convinced that he was there to kill her.
Yeah, yeah.
Animals also bore abuse from Artie. Over and over. He tied cats together, their tails together, snapped little rabbits' throats, pounded squirrels flat, threw kittens in the lake, over and over till they couldn't swim any longer.
Oh, my God. Well, there's another check.
Yeah, and would nail frogs to a dartboard and then throw darts at them.
Oh,
Basic scumbaggery.
yeah.
He learned from a very young age the power of taking life. He became intoxicated with hurting others. Inflicting pain was his only way to understand the world.
What a psycho.
Arthur was preoccupied with sex and had sexual fantasies from a very young age. By the age of 7, he was masturbating daily. He routinely would perform oral sex on his male and female friends. He also admitted to having sex with a sheep.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
A dog.
Oh.
Killing a chicken while attempting to rape it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now we got a little bestiality in there, so
Yeah. Nobody was safe around him.
I think this is a new check for our for our trifecta here.
It's really horrible.
Can't call it a trifecta, can we?
No. He also supposedly was raped by a man that picked him up while he was walking one day. The man put a knife to his throat and performed oral sex on him and then finger raped him. He said that he could not masturbate without sticking a finger up his butt after that.
Oh.
By the 8th grade, he was behind by 2 grades. And by the age of 19, he would drop out as a freshman. After this, he bounced around, committing petty crimes. If thievery was his art, then he never got past finger painting. He would steal from anyone he got close to. And would sneak around at night, looking for places to rob. He was arrested once for breaking into Sears.
Oh, Sears.
Got off on a slap of the wrist because he said the Christmas spirit got into him and he just wanted to get presents for everyone. That's what he said.
Wow.
April 1967, he was drafted into the U.S. military at the age of 21.
Okay.
Before being deployed, he married a woman named Linda, a Christian Scientist.
Those 2 words don't really go together.
Vietnam was where Arthur found a love for sex workers. And he also found a love for brutalizing them. He could never keep an erection, and this would infuriate him, and he would take it out on these poor women. One of them, he said, was only 11 years old.
Oh, my God.
He claimed to have killed local a sex worker once, by shoving a fire hose up one's vagina and almost blowing her head off.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it really is. Another time he claimed took another whore, as he called her, and tied her to 2 small trees. Legs to the trees, bent down. She had a razor blade inside her vagina. She was cut from her anus to her chin. Then the trees were let go. She was slit in half.
Oh, my God.
And they just left her there. Thank God he only did one to her. Yeah.
Oh, we just started this, man. I'm already getting sick.
It's horrible.
Okay.
He was a glorified dispatch clerk, to be honest. So I'm not sure how much action he actually saw. I mean, if there's one safe job over in Vietnam, it sounds like one. He was just bringing supplies to different outfits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He wasn't in the infantry or anything like that.
Yeah.
But if you talk to him, he was a war hero. He was shot a couple times.
Yeah, of course.
He said that he would go out on his own and do these missions, these secret missions and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And
he single-handedly took down Vietnam, right?
that's exactly how he told the story. Yeah. And then he got Agent Orange,
Oh, yeah.
He was a real hero.
Yeah, I think we lost that war.
Yeah, and the military denies all of this and said he had no kills. He was just a dispatch clerk.
Yeah.
So when he returned home, he was highly agitated and found it difficult to relax. Linda was absolutely in love with this man. She was a woman that had been lonely her whole life and would take almost anything from this man in order to not be alone again. Linda had seen over and over again how intimidated he was by his mother, for he would cry again and again after being on the phone with her. Linda spoke of how Arthur was a good companion. He didn't much want sex due to the fact that he couldn't perform because he had a horrible case of stage fright and either couldn't keep it up or would be done and over with in seconds. Linda had a way of making excuses for all of his odd behavior. Even after all these years, she bought into his bullshit about having a traumatic childhood and how Vietnam changed him and all the things he's seen over there and the Agent Orange got him or whatever. And
All right. I can kind of see how she'd get brainwashed by that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, he sought out a certain type of woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was a predator.
It sounds like he could probably read people pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Definitely. She tells of a man that dressed immaculate and was never late for anything, but glosses over the fact that he controlled every aspect of their life down to the minute. If they were going bowling, they were going bowling. They weren't stopping anywhere. They were going there and coming right home. She speaks of a man that would give strangers food, a hero of war, but only briefly talks about the numerous times she caught him hurting little children and how her parents thought that he may have sexually abused her younger sister.
Oh, jeez.
She seemed more upset with the fact that she couldn't give him the self-worth that she believed he deserved, more than she was with the fact that he took the lives of all those women. She thought that she could love him enough that it would change his heart. Mm-hmm. It took him beating her so badly one night that she miscarried the 4-month-old baby.
Oh, no.
For her to see that her love and attention wasn't the problem.
Aw.
She left him while he was at work, demanded a divorce. In a last-ditch effort to make her stay, he finally told her that he loved her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. After the split up, but before the divorce, he was going through a severe downward spiral and was arrested for arson after he lit a paper mill on fire.
Oh,
and he was sent to Attica prison, where he spent 2 years. In 1971, he was given early release when he saved the life of a prison guard who had been clubbed during a prison riot sparked by racial tensions.
What a nice man.
Yeah.
What a nice man.
He is a hero. I mean...
Yeah, I know. War hero and everything.
Yeah.
Oh.
He returned to Watertown to start a new life, having been divorced by Linda while he was in jail. His stay in prison did little for his already fragile mental state, and by the time of his release, he was in a highly agitated state of mind and ready to wreak havoc onto the world that he never seemed to quite fit into. Mm-hmm. Arthur would never stay alone for very long, though, and here comes Penny, Another woman he sadly manipulated into thinking that she could change him. Little Jack Blake didn't have luck in the way he died, but he had a mother with a passion for her children, unmatched by any other.
Here it comes.
Yep. Jack was a sweet young man that lived by the river. His brother Pete and him would play by the river, and as a matter of fact, he saved his brother Pete when he fell into the river one time.
Really?
Yep. The current would have definitely taken him away, they said, had Jack not been there to save him. Another time, he shoved his brother off a toboggan before it smashed into a tree. That's just the type of boy he was, you know.
This boy was a hero.
He was always thinking about others before himself. Always. His father, being a raging alcoholic, would steal money he made from helping his neighbors. But he thought nothing of it. He was just glad to help. At the age of 10, his mother revealed to him that his father was not the man he grew up with, but another man she had an affair with, a man from the village that had class, as she called it, Bob. She supposed that's why he was so different than her other children, why his temperament was so much sweeter, and why he was so selfless. His father was a raging alcoholic that was only a father in name. He didn't have a minute to spend, nor a kind word to give his children. Big Pete, as he was known, was a hard worker, but a father he was not. The night that Jack didn't come home, of course his mother was surprised, yes. Worried? Not yet.
Well, no, he's a good boy, you know.
Yeah. She would give Jack a few whacks when he came home, but a good kiss goodnight also. Not this night. What happened to your little brother, she asked Pete. He didn't know. The next morning, she phoned the police, but was of course told that she couldn't file an official missing persons until he had been missing 24 hours.
Of course, that stupid rule.
That's how they always did it back in the day, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
They did, however, send an officer over, who of course advised her that he was probably with friends or just ran away.
Not this boy, though.
No.
He just, yeah.
She knew her son. She knew he wouldn't run away. He left everything there. His cat was there that he loved. You know, she knew that he wouldn't just run away. And then she remembered a creepy man that had taken her son fishing one day. She cursed herself for not thinking of it sooner, but she told the policeman about this man and about the bad feeling that he gave her. Art, his name was. The police went to Art's apartment with Mary Blake right behind them. "Where's my son?" she demanded an answer, while the man talked to the police. Mary didn't know what, but she knew this man had something to do with her son's disappearance.
Yeah, mother's intuition.
Yes, she knew right from the beginning.
She just had that gut instinct, you know?
Yep. By now, I'm sure you know this man is Arthur Shawcross. The police would do almost nothing to find her son. Her pleas meant nothing. Her begging was unmoving. She called everyone she could think of. Radio stations, newspaper outlets, politicians, senators, the mayor, everyone. She began to know the police as Piggly Wigglies. But soon she said that name was too good for them, because you didn't waste any meat on a pig.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did not like the cops, huh?
No, and she didn't believe the cops were worth a damn at all. For months, she mounted searches that it seemed everyone but the police were willing to join.
Oh, wow.
She would set a time and a place that they were going to search, and everyone would show up, except for the police.
Really?
Yeah. She searched the woods, playgrounds, abandoned buildings, following up any and all leads. Talking to many psychics.
Really?
Oh, she got conned big time.
Yeah.
And all the psychics told her, "We know your boy's alive. Keep looking.
Yeah.
You know, send me $100 and I'll come help. Send me some of his clothing that he wore and I could get a feeling off it." You know, Watertown was a small town, and she felt that if Jack had come from a family up on the hill where they had money, then they would have found him by now.
Yeah, of course.
She demanded they arrest Arthur, that they press him for more information, anything to find her son. At first, she pleaded nicely, but after months of her son being missing, she was outright verbally assaulting the police at every chance. A child recalled how the day Jack went missing, he had been seen playing at the playground at the Cloverdale apartment building. That's where Arthur lived.
Coincidence?
No. This took such a toll on this family. Little Pete missed his brother, and would just stare out the window all day, depressed, waiting for his brother to come home.
Oh,
He blamed himself. He thought, if only he had been with him, he'd still be home.
that poor kid.
4 months later, 8-year-old Karen Ann Hill was found dead under a bridge by the river in Watertown. She had been raped, mutilated, and strangled.
Oh,
When a police investigation revealed that Hill and Shawcross had been seen together earlier the same day, Shawcross became suspect number 1.
yep. There you go.
After they received another report that Shawcross was seen eating an ice cream at the bridge near where the body was found, police picked Arthur Shawcross up and took him in for questioning. Finally, now the police were finally in a room with the killer Shawcross. The lead detective would interrogate him over the course of the day. After offering him a plea bargain, he admitted to not only the murder of Karen Ann Hill, but led them to the body of little Jack Blake.
Jeez.
Mary Blake was understandably furious. She had told the police months ago to look into this man. She begged the police to take him in for at least questioning. But the damage had been done.
Yeah.
She had no trust of the police by this time.
Yeah. I mean, who would blame her?
She was not even convinced that this was her boy.
Oh, really?
That's how much she did not trust the police.
So, if the police would have just listened to her and took this man in, this other girl might have been alive.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I think. The police had no concrete evidence against Arthur. That is the reason he was given a sweetheart deal. He pled to manslaughter.
Manslaughter?
Yes.
Manslaughter.
And only for the murder of Karen, not Jack.
Even though he admitted to Jack.
Yes. That was part of the plea bargain. He gave up his body in order to not be charged with it.
And who gave him this plea? Did the mother agree to this plea?
No.
Oh
Not at
my
all.
God.
He needn't plead guilty to the rape of either of them, even though they both were.
Really?
Yeah. If they had taken Shawcross in for questioning months earlier, like you said, and pressed him a little harder, if they had listened to Mary Blake, little Karen would still be alive.
That is true. Yeah. That is very true. Man. Once again, we get into this little thing where if the police would have just listened and done the right thing, unfortunately, I guess it just comes to having money. I mean, can we say that?
Yes, because Karen's family had money, and they were just visiting. They were from Rochester. They were
really?
just visiting,
Okay.
and he found her by the river and attacked her.
Could have been prevented.
Definitely. Arthur Shawcross was sentenced to an indefinite amount of time, up to 25 years. He could be out in as little as 2.
Really? The murder or rape of 2 children
Yep.
could be out in 2.
Out in 2. He could.
Yeah, there's no problem with our penile system, huh?
I mean, this was the 80s, but still. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Or not the 80s, 70s, sorry. Prison was not a pleasant place for a child killer. He was raped repeatedly and beaten.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Some justice.
Yeah.
He spent his time in prison alone and miserable. He never ever showed any real remorse for the murders, and would only later admit to the rapes and necrophilia. After serving just 14 and a half years, when Shawcross was released, he was placed in the Binghamton area, as the officials and the residents of Watertown had made it plain they didn't want him there.
So they just took him from one side of the state, put him on the other.
Yeah, they said that if he was released to Watertown, he would be murdered. They would kill him.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
I wish they did.
Yeah. He had also been maintaining a pen pal relationship with a woman named Rose Wally, and indicated that he would go and live with her and probably marry her. His parole conditions, among other things, required him to restrict his movements to Broome County, observe an 11 to 7 a.m. curfew, refrain from partaking of any alcoholic beverages, and to not have any contact with anyone under the age of 18. He had to stay away from schools or any place where children were present. His stay in Binghamton only proved to be a short one. When the residents objected to his presence, he was given approval to move to Delhi, New York, where he moved into Rose Wally's apartment. Shortly after he moved in, however, the residents of his new community got wind of his presence, and he was asked to leave. The reason being that the sheriff of that town His daughter was murdered by a pedophiliac.
Oh, jeez.
And he was outraged that they would put him in his county.
Yeah, absolutely.
He said that he alerted the papers. He gave them his picture, where he lived.
Good.
He told everyone that he could. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good for him.
He's like, I don't care if I lose my job. This guy's going down.
Good for him.
Yes, definitely. So he appealed to the parole board and was sent to live in the basement of the Baptist church until suitable accommodations could be found. He and Rose later moved to Fleischmann's, New York, moved into a large house, and Arthur obtained work with a local building contractor. That was until people found out about him living there, and an angry mob formed outside his house, led by the mayor.
Oh, good for them.
Pitchforks, fire, everything.
Finally, a good mob.
Yeah.
A mob worth it.
Rochester, New York, is where the parole board finally settled him. It's the third biggest city of the state of New York.
Yeah, it's a big city.
Yeah, about 300,000 people.
Yeah. Yep. Rochester.
They rightly figured that he'd be able to blend into a city this size.
He shouldn't blend in anywhere. No. Except for jail. And he shouldn't even blend in there. He should be beaten. Anyway. All right, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. The murders began shortly after. Dorothy Blackburn was employed as a sex worker. She had an infant son and 2 older children. One night, she left her son with a babysitter and left with her pimp/boyfriend, the baby's father. They bought 3 6-packs and fronted some cocaine.
Oh, sounds like a party.
Yeah. She needed to do sex work to pay for her boyfriends and her drugs.
That makes sense. Yep.
But she could never do sex work without the drugs first to build up her nerves.
That also makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. She also preferred oral sex as a way to make money, in the belief that it would prevent her from getting AIDS. Mm-hmm. AIDS was huge at this time, you know?
Yeah, it's
huge.
the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
She refused to date strangers for her own safety. She usually performed her services in a customer's car or a hotel off the way, where she was well known there and protected by the men there. On this March day, she left her pimp, and she wanted to go near the Kodak and Xerox factories. They were a nicer clientele, and she had some regulars there. Think about that next time you buy a Kodak camera. When by 2 a.m., Dotsy still had not returned to their apartment, this did not worry him, because she had gone overnight before. One day would lead to another, and before she knew it, it would be morning. But she always came back. Paramore wasn't worried. She would be back. After all, they had a son together. When by afternoon she hadn't arrived, he checked the streets to talk to the other girls and try to retrace her steps. Mm-hmm. He heard varying accounts of the last person she was seen with, and the same went for the last car she was seen with or getting into. Nobody kept watch or score, and a busy woman could serve 15 customers in a night, which on that night wouldn't have surprised Paramore because they owed money to several different creditors, and Dorothy was a hard worker. What was unusual was that she never was gone from their infant son for this long. Never. Mm-hmm. When 3 more days had passed, he went to her sister, and she informed him that not only had she not seen Dorothy, but she is holding a check for her. The sister then filed a missing persons report. Yep. The police were acquainted with Dorothy. She had only minor offenses and was well liked by them.
Okay.
They admired her gritty professionalism. Mm. The missing persons report read like this. White female, age 27, 5 foot, 95 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, very fair skin, no tattoos, no scars. Last seen wearing white shoes, brown white jacket with faded jeans, and a black sweatshirt with a hood. Mm-hmm. Her normal hangouts were all checked by police, and they immediately suspected foul play here.
Yep.
They knew something was up.
Mm-hmm.
On the morning of March 24th, a crew of laborers peered into the Salmons Creek, a remote part of the park, a few miles from Rochester. Dorothy Blackburn was found. At first, they believed it was a mannequin. Mm-hmm. They thought some teenagers had thrown it in the creek as a prank.
Yeah, yep.
One of the men tugged with a rake, and once they could see the face, they knew they were looking at a frozen body, not some teenage prank.
Mm-hmm.
This was 9 days after young Dorothy's disappearance. Her left eye was shut, her shirt was pulled up over her breasts, but there were no signs of a struggle that they could see.
Really?
At the morgue, Kathy, Dorothy's sister, identified the body. The boyfriend was the first suspect. due to the fact that the police knew of him beating her previously.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. But he was quickly ruled out, and they moved on to her regulars. The police seriously investigated this death, which is refreshing.
Yeah, definitely. Especially being a sex worker, you'd think. Mm-hmm. You'd think they just brush it off.
Exactly. The ME determined that she had been bitten and strangled to death. The investigators tried to link this crime to another set of dead sex workers, but found none. The police actually missed the time when the streets was ran by pimps, but now the drug dealers reign supreme.
They missed the time when it was run by pimps, huh?
Yeah. Some of them were sadists, and that wouldn't hesitate to harm a sex worker that owed them money.
Yeah.
So they were thinking a drug dealer
Yep.
at this time. Arthur Shawcross later said that she was his first adult victim, and that he killed her because she had bit him on the penis and made him bleed.
Oh.
And it pissed him off that she showed no fear after seeing how upset that he was. He bit her back on her vagina until he drew blood. Took a bite, a chunk right out of her, actually. Then proceeded to strangle her until she passed out. Once out, he tied her hands behind her back with her own pants, raped her, then beat and strangled her to death.
Oh.
All the while, once she woke up, she was cursing him, calling him, quote, a faggot and a queer, and that he wasn't even a man. Dorothy went down fighting.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. At least she fought for something. She fought for her life. I mean, it's a terrible, tragic end, but...
Yeah, it is. Arthur at this time was getting good reviews from Parole and keeping a job.
Yeah, he's doing good. He's doing great.
He seemed to have adjusted to life on parole in Rochester very well. Anna Marie Steffen, known as Anne, had a record that you would see typically from someone who suffered from drug addiction, alcoholism, and untreated mental illness. Mm-hmm. She grew up with a paraplegic sister that she helped care for.
Okay.
Relatives recalled how she would bathe and dress her sister. She played with her, and she would push her in her wheelchair to school every day.
That sounds sweet.
Yeah, definitely. Such love and compassion she had for her. After her sister passed away, though, in 1980, Anne took the loss very hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. Sounds like she had a lot of love for her sister.
Yes, definitely. Yes. She lost direction completely.
Yeah.
She was a quiet woman, though, who clearly devastated Ward on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
She then had 2 children and a husband who she slowly became estranged from.
Oh.
As addiction tore through her life, it seemed to be the only way for her to deal with the death of her sister. Oh. From then on, her life was a succession of risky encounters, beatings from pimps, suicide attempts, many suicide attempts.
Oh.
And she had nightmares every night.
Oh.
When she became pregnant with her 3rd child, she hired a voodoo woman to do chants over her body, telling friends that she intended on selling the child for $5,000 to pay for her debts.
Oh, wow.
She was last seen in the sex work corridor, as it was known. Her disappearance didn't surprise anyone. When she didn't show back at her apartment, her pimpin' friends assumed she went away to have her baby in peace.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Then several weeks later, the local rumors were that she died in jail of AIDS, or that she finally was successful in a suicide attempt. Her friends were all addicts, and they were not even sure when she went missing, and suspected no foul play. September 9th, 1989, Hector Maldonado discovered her body in the Genesee River Gorge while he was searching for bottles and cans to take back to the store. At first, all he could see was a leg bone protruding from a pile of garbage. Due to the state of decomposition, he thought it was a deer carcass until he seen the clothing. The techs on scene could not say a definitive cause of death due to the state of decomposition. All that was left of tortured Anna Steffen remains was basically a skeleton with pants pulled down to the ankles.
Oh, wow.
Shawcross later said that he killed Anne when they were in a park messing around. They spotted some children. He wanted her to lay down and be quiet because he was on parole and couldn't be spotted near children with his pants down and with a sex worker. Anne was frightened and wanted to get her clothes on and leave. But Shawcross had other plans and used her disobedience as an excuse to put his hands around her throat to silence her at first, he said, but then he couldn't stop himself. He just stopped squeezing for 10 minutes.
Wow.
She just wanted to get up and leave, and she died begging for her life.
That poor woman. She just wanted to leave.
Yep.
Yeah, and she was pregnant.
Yep. I just held and squeezed her until she quit, he said, and then rolled her behind a bush.
Just like she's nothing.
Yep.
This poor woman.
It took her, 2 months to say the cause of death was asphyxiation.
2 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
The detectives checked dental records, missing persons reports. A statewide canvass came up with 138 possible matchups, which were narrowed down by dental records.
Okay.
A forensic anthropologist was hired to mold a clay face around the skull. A wig and plastic eyes were added before photos were taken and then sent to the media. Anna's father seen the photo in the paper, and after the dental records matched those of Anna Marie Steffen, she was dead at the age of 28.
That's so tragic.
It really is.
Yep. So he killed a unborn baby and a mother.
Yep.
A daughter, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just a woman who still had a chance to live.
Yeah. The father told police he hadn't seen her in 13 months and didn't report her missing due to the fact that she moved often. And it was assumed by everyone that she was killed by a drug dealer. She was laid to rest next to her sister. She's finally at peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Arthur at this time was with Rose, but he was also with a woman named Clara Neal.
Oh, all right. We got a real winner.
She was his number one fan. It was her car that he would use to pick up these sex workers. He brought up to the woman that he wanted to become a Mormon so he could be with them both.
Oh, yeah. He's a real religious guy.
I tried that too. It doesn't work. I believe Clara, the mistress, was the only victim of his that survived. Until this day, when asked about Arthur, she has nothing bad to say about him. Just excuses.
Wow. Another woman brainwashed.
Mm-hmm. He only killed whores. He would never hurt me, she said. Arthur was a sweet man that only wanted love that he never received from his mother. This is an ongoing story in his life, is that he'd call his mother and she would berate him and he would cry and she would hold him, and it made her feel like they were close because of this.
Okay.
She didn't even believe the police when they took away her jewelry and informed her that it was taken from victims. That ring was mine, not some whore, she said.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She thought nothing of the fact that he would remove the genitalia from slain deer when they hunted.
Really?
Yeah.
It's freaking weird.
Or the beatings that he gave her. She earned them, she said.
Oh.
The only reason that he was with Rose, he said, was because his parole. He never loved her. He only loved me, she said.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, she was just another victim.
Yeah, absolutely.
She really was.
All the women are. I think every woman in his life was.
Yes, definitely. One of the women that lived on the street, 59-year-old Dorothy Keeler, would clean Shawcross's apartment for $4 an hour. When he noticed that she was stealing change from his apartment, he confronted her. When she threatened to tell Rose that she not only cleaned the apartment, but was doing sexual favors for him, he snapped. He took a nearby branch and beat her to death.
Oh, jeez. Did she know that he was a serial killer? Or not a serial killer, but like a parolee, like convicted?
I'm not sure, actually.
Okay.
I'm not sure. He didn't bring it up often, I'll tell you that.
I could imagine that, but...
He would make up stories like, I was in prison because a drunk driver ran over my son, and I had to kill the drunk driver. I couldn't let him live. Like, all these stories that he was like a hero. That's why he went to jail.
Ah, yeah. Of course. Master manipulator.
Master manipulator. Then he proceeded to undress her and rape her dead body. He left her right there by the river. He would revisit the body over and over until there was nothing left but a skeleton. And then he picked up a skull and threw it in the river.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Unwrap that one. Oh.
God, it's crazy. In some interviews, he admits to the necrophilia, and in some he denies it. As was the case with Anna, nobody reported the poor homeless woman missing. October 21st, 3 fishermen were on an island on the Genesee Gorge looking for some firewood when they came across what was described as nothing but a pile of bones and clothes.
No.
Just bones laying in the fetal position.
Mm-hmm.
Her jeans pulled down to her thighs. 3 pullovers encased her upper body. No ID, no hat at all. After the body was brought to the MEs, 25 Explorer Scouts, along with 3 dogs, and the police searched the woods for the head. The MEs said the body had an old rib injury, a hysterectomy, missing 2 front teeth, with bone spurs on her heels, common but not exclusive to sex work. He had to guess, but said the death was caused by blunt object to different parts of the body. There was no missing persons that matched with the pile of bones. Without a head in 1989, it's not common to ID a body. In the movies, you can get a fingerprint off of running water, but this is real life, a detective later said.
Yeah. Yep.
Patricia, Patty as she was known, Ives, looks a lot like Julia Roberts when she was younger.
Really?
Yeah. In high school, she was slender, 110 pounds, 5'2", beautiful blonde hair, dark eyes. She wanted to become a writer. She wrote poetry and was described as gentle, kind, loving by all that knew her.
Had her whole world ahead of her, huh?
Yep. She was also known as naive. The streets can swallow a person like that up. And it did. Patty was forced to quit school at the age of 16 due to her addiction.
Oh.
From then until her death, getting high substituted her passion for writing. She worked as an exotic dancer, performing sexual favors for men in the private dance areas. Soon she was under the control of a vicious pimp, Rat-Faced Billy, as he was known.
What a great name.
Yeah. That would shoot her up to the point of almost unconsciousness and then send her into the streets to make money.
Oh, wow. Wow, this guy's a real winner, huh?
Yeah, he loved her very much.
Yeah.
She gave birth to a cocaine-addicted son who was placed into the care of the county.
Poor kid.
Yeah. She never stopped trying to get clean, though, and trying to find her way back. AA, rehabs, drug counseling.
She tried.
She tried it all.
Yeah. You can't give her, enough credit for that.
No. At 25, she was only a former shell of her former beautiful self. A walking skeleton with track marks. Her intelligence seemed to have waned due to her drug abuse.
Yeah, makes sense.
Her brain was just burnt out, friends would say. She was missing for 2 weeks before her pimp recorded her missing.
Wow.
To her co-workers of the streets, it was no secret that her pimp shot her up and forced her to work the streets. The police thought that he would be a good place to start.
Yep.
Rat-Faced Billy told the police the last time he had seen her, she was leaving with a John. Later it was said a man had seen her with Arthur, fishing rods and all. A boy searching through some junk was surprised when he seen a foot sticking out and immediately ran to the nearest police.
Oh, jeez.
Patty Ives was laid face up, no underwear or socks, and had been dead for weeks. Her gold wedding ring that she steadfastly refused to sell was missing. Maggots had eaten most of her flesh.
Ugh.
Billy sobbed like a baby as police questioned him.
Yeah.
Not for her death, but because he would have to return to burglary as a way to support himself. Pimping was easier, he said. Whoever said pimping ain't easy? Pimping is easy. Screwing for money, that's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there.
Rochester police investigators now began to wonder if they had a genuine serial killer among them. Some remained doubtful, though, believing the killings were multiple men. The only thing that linked these women was that they did sex work and that they were drug addicted. Unusual string of isolated homicides, some said.
I can see that. I mean, there's a few killings, and you don't have a lot of the same. Like he doesn't have a good pattern. I guess he strangles them, right?
But they couldn't always tell that he strangled them because
exactly
what he would do is he would just choke you enough to cut off your breathing, but not enough to break the hyoid bone or hyoid bone, so that the MEs couldn't tell exactly what the cause of death was.
Yeah, so it's not like a pattern. So I could see where some people would say, is it a serial killer? Is it not a serial killer? I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally when a sex worker goes missing, it's just business as usual. But when Maria Welsh went missing and left behind her infant son, the police took notice.
Okay.
Before her disappearance, the 22-year-old had been receiving threatening phone calls saying, "You're going to die, or I'm going to get you," and then hang up. And she was once approached by a man posing as a police officer, demanding free sexual services. 2 weeks before her disappearance, a man with a screwdriver to her throat made her perform oral sex. When she jumped from the car and fled down an alley, he gave chase and tried to run her down with his car.
Oh, wow.
It was a blue two-door sedan. A trick named Ed dated 2 other women that ended up dead. Stay away from Ed, or you'll end up dead. Marie was a lesbian that only tricked to support her drug habit, and she was a good mother to her son. Anyone that knew her said that.
Okay.
The last time she was seen, the blue sedan was sighted by other girls. When her friends didn't hear from her, they slept by the phone waiting for her to call due to their new security measures where they would check in on each other.
Okay.
Arthur later said that he had killed poor 22-year-old Maria due to the fact that she told him to go fuck himself after he demanded his money back because he couldn't get it up.
Jeez.
He choked her unconscious, tied her up, raped her until she came to. And she was furious, spitting in his face, demanding to be untied. He then killed her. The police interrogated the regulars and the pimps and other girls to get any clues to where she might be. Abandoned apartment complexes were searched with cadaver dogs. Nothing. The police then decided to search the gorge where other women were found. All they found was a blue tarp. 5 days after her disappearance, a fisherman found what he believed to be a mannequin.
Can I just say it's never a mannequin?
It's never a mannequin.
Never a mannequin.
It's always a dead body.
Yes. No one's throwing away good mannequins. Not at all.
No. The body was naked, all but go-go boots. The police knew it wasn't Marie from the many tattoos she had. She had a unicorn, and she had love on her knuckles. Due to the hemorrhaging behind the eyes, the police concluded that she had been murdered by asphyxiation. She also had many bruises and damages to the skull. A kiss-off tattoo concluded it was Frances Brown, another sex worker that loved music, poetry, and above all else, heroin. In August, she called her grandmother from a bus station in Massachusetts and said that she was coming home. And when asked how she was doing, she said, quote, "You don't want to know." Very sad. She's very close to going home, and then
She was going home.
He got her.
So tragic. You know, she was so close.
So close.
She was so close. She just...
She left behind a daughter. They couldn't even tell her what happened to her mother. She didn't know what dead was yet.
Aw, that's so tragic, man.
It really is. Shawcross insisted this death was an accident, that he choked her to death with his penis when they were doing 69. I don't know any other way to say it, but I'm not trying to be vulgar, but that is what happened.
Wow. Yeah, well.
This did not stop her from raping her warm, dead body. He said he gently kissed her while he was raping her body. That was a weird little thing he said.
That's just... I'm sorry, I don't believe him.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, this is just his MO over and over and over again.
Exactly. Yep.
He either can't ejaculate or he can't keep an erection and takes it out on these women.
Yeah, and he can achieve his goals once they're dead. So
Exactly.
why doesn't he just kill them?
Exactly.
What a sick...
Yeah. Definitely.
Trying to keep the language out of here, but yeah, he's a sick fuck.
Yes, a sick fuck. By this time, the police were working hand in hand with the sex workers to keep them safe and to catch whoever was killing them. It was split whether they were worth saving or not when it came to the foot police.
No.
But the detectives were all over this case from the beginning, following and interrogating any and all Johns the women said were rough or gave them a bad feeling.
Okay.
Many men were interrogated. Helicopters were being used to find bodies.
Okay.
This man they called the fisherman would hang out at the Dunkin' Donuts where the police hung out and offer them salmon that he had caught.
Okay.
Seemed he was always questioning them about the murders.
The fisherman, huh?
Yeah. Wondering if they had any leads.
I wonder who this guy is.
I don't know. A friendly nuisance. Nothing more, they thought. They never got his name.
Could it be Arthur?
Yeah. I mean, everybody knew this guy as the fisherman, you know. Or they knew him as Ed or Mick or Mike. He had many names that he went by, you know. The next woman to be reported missing was a homeless woman, 30-year-old June Stott. She was neither an addict nor a sex worker. Mental illness was her demon. She was shy and heard voices. Since the death of her mother, she wandered around believing that she was being pursued by demons. She lifted weights and carried a pocket knife and wore thick glasses and was tough as nails.
Tough lady, huh?
Yeah. A retiree, Jake Tibbetts, took her in. She still wandered, but would meet up with him at 4 every day. October 23rd, she didn't show, and he believed that she had just moved on. He was upset. She was a sweet girl. And he was like a father to her, you know.
Yep.
They had a very good relationship.
Okay.
But he didn't have any ownership over her, so he's like, oh, she left.
Yeah.
She left, you know.
Mm-hmm.
18 days after he'd last seen her, he'd seen in the paper a story about missing girls and dead women and decided to call the police.
Okay.
He told them she was a little slow, but much too street smart to fall for anyone's bullshit. She was last seen wearing a red jacket with a black skirt. Now, with Marie and June both missing, the police began to wonder how many other bodies were hidden in the gorge. All of these women were found laying in a straight line. Were there more bodies in a straight line? Detective Lynn Johnston had the gorge searched along a line, a straight line, just farther out. Nothing. Headlines read, police look for links to deaths of 8 women. A serial killer was not called out, but it was hinted at, you know?
Yeah.
Kimberly Logan's body was found next. A 30-year-old woman, beautiful woman. Her face was battered and she was naked. The case seemed unrelated somehow to the other killings, but the police pursued it thoroughly. No evidence was found, no semen, no fingerprints, just nothing. The only thing that linked these women is that a Mitch, or a Mike, that was violent had been seen in the areas they frequented. The sex workers were on edge. The police were on edge.
Yeah.
And the newspapers were eating this up.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. This was gold for them.
Yeah. Not for the sake of the women, but it was sweeps and the murder cells.
Oh, yeah.
On Thanksgiving, 1989, a man named Mark Stencil, while walking his dog down the Genesee River, came across an ice-encrusted carpet with a bare foot protruding from underneath.
Oh, jeez.
This body was very different from the others found. The female body laid face down, but the lividity shown that the body lay face up for a period of time. This means that the body was moved after death.
Yeah.
The right leg bent backwards at the knee, revealing the buttocks, which had been raped post-mortem. It looked like it had been under the rug for 3 or 4 weeks. No tattoos, so the dead woman was not Marie Welsh. The ME said the death was most likely asphyxia. The body was cut from sternum to crotch.
Really?
A deer hunter's cut.
Yeah. Huh.
And the genitals were missing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he was cutting off genitals of deer, so...
Yeah. A knife was found near the body, as was a towel covered in blood. They believed it was him cleaning up. No semen was found once again. The body was very different from the others. It was found by the river, but 7 miles down. It was the escalation the detectives feared was coming. The dead woman was identified as June Stott. Her face was added to those in the war room that the police had. Mm-hmm. Shawcross later admitted that he didn't know why he cut her up like that. He killed her because he didn't want her to report the rape. He also admitted to cooking and eating her genitals.
What?
He cut off her genitals and started a fire and cooked them up and ate them right there, right next to her.
So now he's a cannibal.
That's what he said.
Fantastic.
Yeah. There's like nothing evil that this guy is not doing.
No,
you know?
he's just like, hey, what more evil can I do? What's next?
Exactly. It really is. After this murder, the FBI got involved and concluded that one man was responsible for the death of Dorothy Blackburn, Anna Steffen, the unidentified headless body, Patty Ives, Frances Brown, June Stott, and maybe 2 others.
Okay.
They also concluded that this is a white man, mid-30s, probably a difficult bully to live with,
Okay.
a stickler for neatness. Mm-hmm. He probably had a troubled relationship with his mother
Interesting.
and felt inadequate with females.
Yeah.
He wouldn't stand out in a crowd. He might be a security guard or hang out with police, maybe even be a police. He was familiar with the neighborhood, that maybe he would offer help even in the investigation. They didn't know what to make of him covering the bodies, though. Maybe something he learned in Vietnam.
Ah, interesting.
Offbeat cutting, they said. He picked up Darlene Trippy up from the Lake Avenue area and drove to an isolated car park. After the money was paid, they indulged in oral sex through 69, but Shawcross failed to get an erection. She became frustrated and called him names, and he choked her until she lay dead underneath him. He dumped her body in an open woodland. The following month, he killed Elizabeth Gibson in a similar fashion. When she got into his car to keep warm, they had oral sex in the car, and again, He claimed that she tried to take his wallet, and he got angry and strangled her.
Oh, yeah. He's got all sorts of excuses, huh?
For every single woman, he's got a reason.
Yep.
Shawcross later told the police that she had struggled so hard that she had broken the gear shift in his car.
Jeez.
He disposed of Gibson's body in a new area near Wayne County, as he feared that the police were getting too close. June Cicero flagged him down, and when he couldn't get it up, he choked her out and threw her out of the car. She went over the guardrail. 2 days later, he returned to the dump site with a small handsaw and cut the vagina from her frozen body and ate it.
Oh, wow.
But not before raping her cold dead body.
Of course not. No,
No, you gotta get that in.
Yep. Of course. Sick motherfucker.
It is not hard to see that, just as the prison psychiatrist had detected, Arthur Shawcross lived in a fantasy world and made up these fanciful accounts of his numerous accidental murders to hide the fact that he was a sadistic killer who could only get off when he was subjecting his victims to pain and anguish, which eventually resulted in their deaths. The final victim was another sex worker, only this time Arthur chose a woman named Felicia Stevens. In later interviews, he stated that he could not recall any details of Felicia's murder, only that she was black and that he had strangled her and dumped her body near those of Jean Cicero and Dorothy Blackburn. Oh, and then he remembered that, yes, he rolled her head up in the car and choked her with it, and then once she was passed out, raped her. It was his desire to keep the bodies where he could find them again that led to his capture. Felicia had beautiful brown skin and a boyfriend that loved her and missed her. These women were missed.
Of course they were, yeah.
You know?
They were mothers, they were sisters, they were daughters.
And I wish, if any information that I found about these women, I'm put in a story. So if there's not much, it's because I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Trust me, if I could have found it, I would have.
Yeah, we're trying to do justice for the women here, you know?
Absolutely.
Because this man is sick. It doesn't matter what workers they were sex workers, it doesn't matter.
No.
They were women.
Yes.
You know?
At this time, the papers began to wonder if the police would be treating this any differently if he was killing housewives. Genesee River Killer was alive and well in the media. They were constantly berating the police that were spending thousands of hours trying to find this killer. So the papers are acting like the police were doing nothing, when in all actuality, they were trying to find this man.
Really?
They were working hard.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, for everything I read, they were working hard. Wednesday, January 3rd, 1990. Wednesday, January 3rd, 1990. He drove to Salmon Creek in Northampton Park to visit Jean Cicero's body. He was aroused at the thought of having sex with her corpse. Arthur hadn't been following the progress of the serial task force that had become prime news on TV and in the papers. If he had, he would have known that police surveillance was in or around the area. What he did not know was that a police helicopter that had began checking the Salmon River had not only seen his car parked on the bridge, but also the outline of the body under ice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Here's his mistake.
As the helicopter approached, Shawcross left the area and drove heading towards the town of Spencerport, with the helicopter following his every move. And they're calling down to cars to get this man.
Yep.
The helicopter crew followed him, and the cars intercepted him. They followed it to an address in Spencerport, where the car was parked, and Shawcross got out and entered the Wedgwood adult home. That's where his mistress worked. The police entered the home and asked the attendant about the man who had just entered, and was told they had gone down to the basement. The police followed and approached Shawcross and asked for identification. He produced a photo ID and asked what the police wanted. He was calm, cool, collected, like he had nothing to hide. They then asked him to step outside to answer some questions. Later, he was interviewed in the car by one of the task force investigators and asked why he was at Salmon Creek. Shawcross said that he was out driving and just stopped to urinate. And when he saw the helicopter, he decided to sit in the car and urinate in a bottle instead. For several hours, Detective DeSillis questioned Arthur Shawcross extensively about his movements that morning, but found that Shawcross had a pretty convincing story. While they were talking, Shawcross told him about his earlier conviction for the child murders. DeSillis continued to ask him questions about his wives, his job, his sexual habits, and even asked him details about the attacks on Jack Blake and Karen Hill. Throughout the questioning, he was completely cooperative. Later that night, he was released, and he went home.
Oh, man.
This is after they questioned him for 5 hours, though.
Yeah.
You know, he was released, and they had nothing on him.
Yeah.
All they had was as far as they were concerned, he was a witness.
Yeah.
And he's seen a body. But the detective knew it was him.
Yeah.
As soon as he heard his record, he's like, it's him.
Yeah. They got him.
But other police were like, well, no, because a child killer wouldn't move on to adults, which they normally don't.
Right.
But he just knew it was him.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, the detectives picked him up again to clarify some inconsistencies in his story.
Okay.
Again, Shawcross came with them. They drove him to an area near a golf course where he had supposedly had a liaison with a prostitute. Because the night after they dropped him off, they went around with his picture and found out about this. When Arthur agreed with the assertion, he was asked to accompany the detectives to their office, where an official interrogation was conducted. This became a circus. You would think that it was literally all the police in the area came to this police station.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted in on this.
Yeah, yeah.
The Rochester police wanted credit for catching this guy. The governor was calling them.
I wanted it all, I'm sure, right?
It's such a high pressure situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is the Genesee River killer here. So everyone wants this.
They brought him in, and they're questioning him. And at first, he just admits to one murder.
Okay.
And then they're like, we got him. He's like thinking he's going to go home after admitting to this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like acting like this. I don't know if he really believes that, but that's how he's acting.
So he admits to one murder, and then he just thinks he's going to go home.
He wants to see his wife. That's what he says. But Clara shows up, and the police are like, well, you need to get him to confess. We found jewelry in her car that belonged to one of the sex workers.
Okay.
And then she's like, oh, well, no, that jewelry could have came from anywhere.
Yep.
So they're like, oh, we thought she was on her side. She's on his side 100%.
Yeah.
Get her out of the room.
Yep.
So they get her out of the room and then bring the wife in. And then he's talking to the wife. And she's like, no matter what, I love you. Just come clean.
Okay.
And so then they take her out of the room.
He's still married to Rose, right?
Yes, this is Rose. Yep. So then they take her out of the room. And then what they do is genius, is they see that him talking about before when they had problems, and the media was on them when they found out about him when he moved to Delhi, or Delhi. And they're like, oh, well, you don't want the media to be on your wife every time we charge you with one of these murders. Let's just get it all over with now.
Yeah.
Just get it all over with. Mm-hmm. And he's looking at all these pictures and stuff, and no, I didn't do it. And finally he says, puts his head down, says, let me see the pictures. Starts pointing out the women. 11 women.
Wow.
He admitted to killing the 11 women, but Felicia Stevens, he didn't want to admit to.
Really? Why?
Because she was black.
Really?
He would not have sex with a black woman, he said.
What a scumbag.
Yeah. I'll rape and kill 11 others, but have sex with a black woman. No, not me. Not me. He's saying, he's denying it over and over.
Man, he just keeps getting worse and worse.
But he's built such a good rapport with this police officer that the guy's like, listen, I'm going to get in trouble here. We got all these other killings you're admitting to. You don't admit to this one, I'm going to get a lot of heat. He leaves the room, has the other detective tell him, listen, he's getting a lot of heat right now. Help him out. You know what I mean?
Good cop, bad cop, right?
So he's like...
That's not even. That's just...
Yeah, it's like... The cop is like, I don't understand how he can kill all these women, be so cold, but he admits to Felicia Stevens to keep me out of getting in trouble. That he does crazy. Admit to it.
Wow.
Not having sex with her, but killing her. Mm-hmm. He said, I killed her only. I didn't touch her bed, or I didn't touch her body. They're like, why is she naked? Oh, I just wanted to look at her. Wow. He wouldn't admit to it.
A scumbag.
Yeah.
What a real scumbag.
So they charge him with 11 murders. Throughout the 10-week trial, spectators crowded into the courtroom to hear videotape his hypnosis sessions, okay, where he is saying that his mother was shoving broomsticks up his butt, and that, like, he's talking as his mother in this hypnosis and then as himself. And, like, then they bring in other psychiatrists that totally are like, that's bullshit. He's making all of this up.
Yeah.
You know, he has none of the signs of somebody that actually was, like, abused. And
yeah,
the whole family is like, none of us were abused.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
None of us. He's just a crazy kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Shawcross also said that he had different personalities. And he took over a personality that was his mother when he was killing these women.
Really?
It's so weird. Like, the stuff that he came up with was like, because he wanted the insanity defense.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's just saying anything he can.
Yeah, he's trying everything.
But every time he does that bullshit, they bring in their own psychiatrist that's like, nope, never happened. Never happened.
Well, good. I'm glad they saw through his bullshit.
So he was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to 250 years in prison.
I wish he would live that long so that he could live out that time.
Thankfully, he died in prison in 2008 at the age of 63. So he spent 18 years for these crimes, 14 and a half for the other crimes. So it's at 32 and a half years. That's it. You know, some of these women didn't even live that long.
Yeah, exactly. Not long enough at all.
And that is the absolutely horrid crimes of Arthur Shawcross.
That was gut-wrenching. That was rough, man. These women didn't deserve any of that, you know, and I know you were telling me that they were, you know, throughout the books you were reading and all the research you did, how they were just not even calling them women, essentially.
Yes, this was really sick because even like the author in the book never like called them women or daughters, just literally even the author was calling them whores, and like it's unbelievable how they would talk about these women. Like,
yeah, they're women.
You know? Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. So all the sex workers after this, he's arrested. They get together and they have a big party with a minister doing like a sermon to all these sex workers. They called it like the hoedown or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like they were so happy and elated they finally got this guy.
Yeah.
You know, I guess that after this happened and he was caught, the sex workers just went nuts. Yeah. Like they were arresting like 50 of them a day because none of them were even hiding it because the cops were before this helping them and not arresting them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they were trying to catch them.
So now that they basically know who they all are, and now it's just free reign. So, you know what? So this is funny. I'm going to give a little shout out to a buddy of mine, Rich, over at the Fulton Chain Brewery in in Old Forge, New York. We were having a conversation about prostitution. Mm-hmm. I don't know why we were talking about it, but so back in the Wild West, so they had brothels, right?
Yep.
And the brothels used to run the towns, right? Prostitution was legal.
Yep.
And because the brothels ran the town, that's where all the money would go. That is the reason why prostitution became illegal. Because the women would run the town.
That's crazy.
So now prostitution's illegal because of that.
I did not know that.
Which is like, I didn't know that either. So, you know, Rich informed me about this, and I was just like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know? So
I never would have thought that.
Yeah.
I never would have thought that.
And I mean, that's just a little fact that I had no.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's good.
And I don't know. These women just, I'm glad that you did the research on the women, and that we could give them a little bit of justice of what we could. Yeah. You know?
And the really sad is that the Karen Ann Hill, her mother never knew that it ruined her daughter, you know, being murdered. It ruined her. And she didn't know that. She lived in Rochester. She was just visiting when he murdered her daughter. So she had no idea that he was released into the same town. She's like, he killed one of my children. He could have easily killed another.
Yeah.
I had no idea he was in the town until after.
Oh, man.
It gives me goosebumps. Like, it ruined her. It ruined these families. You know, it's so, like, it's sickening to me that looking up some of these women, it would just be a name.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
It's all I could find is like a name and an age. I mean, I read everything. I listened to an 18-hour book.
Yeah.
I watched like 4 documentaries. I mean, I did a lot of research. And it's just sad that that's what it's broken down to. It's just some dead hooker, you know?
Yeah, and that's not what it is. It's a life. It's a woman. It's a real person, you know?
It's truly sickening. It really, really made me sick doing this research. I think we have to do a later one next week. For sure. For sure.
I would definitely appreciate a lighter one, too.
Yeah. We're going to find a nice killer next week.
Yeah, there's going to be a nice serial killer. Don't worry. We'll find one for you.
Oh, my God.
But, yeah, I mean, let's unwrap this one a little bit. I mean, can we? What do we have to unwrap?
I mean, it truly is. This guy is like, he blamed everything on his mother, you know?
Yeah.
He blamed everything on his childhood, but it's like everything that happened to me brought upon himself.
Yeah.
From being a little psycho.
He literally was born evil. I mean, usually you can find something that triggered a psychopath, you know, what created them to become a killer? And usually you can find that in their childhood. But this guy, no, he was just born evil.
He was
Straight
born
up.
evil. He raped and killed those children because I believe, because he couldn't rape and kill Jeannie, his sister. He was substituting little Karen Ann Hill for his sister. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, that's sick, man.
That's how he was able to move on to adults, because once that was done, then he moved on to women. And he always had problems sexually in bed with women that were consenting to it.
Yep.
You know, it's the hurting the other women is what got him off.
Oh, my God.
You know, the going and reliving the murders and visiting the bodies got him off.
Yeah.
You know, he's just an evil, evil human being.
Yeah. This guy was just twisted right from the get-go. I mean, something was really wrong in his head. And, yeah, I mean, there's nothing more to say than this guy he was the devil incarnate.
He really, really was. And he never took responsibility for anything.
Which is so disgusting, just so sad. I mean,
yeah, like I read so many letters that he wrote to Rose and everything after he was in jail, and like he just totally had this woman manipulated.
Yeah,
totally. Like, and he would write letters to Clara when he was in prison too after, and like it was just so like love letters and all that. It's like, how can you do that and then yet kill other women? I don't get it.
Did you find anything on like what his siblings said about him or anything like that? Or
they're like, he's full of shit. None of that stuff happened that they said. We all were fine.
Yeah.
You know, our mother might have been nuts, but she loved us to death, and she always made excuses for Arthur when he was younger.
Yeah.
She stuck up for him.
Yeah.
She always made sure he was on time to school. He never missed a day, even though he was, failing everything. He was getting like 30s and 40s, but he was there every single day, on time or early. Always dressed nice. His mother made sure, you know what I mean? Always fed. Like, give me a freaking break. Like,
just
people kill for that childhood.
Yep.
Give
Yeah,
me a
absolutely,
break.
absolutely. I mean, there's so many people that don't have even close to that, and they don't turn out like this.
And I'm so sick of people blaming everything on their childhood. It's like, give me a freaking break, dude.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you are who you are. You choose to do these things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Nobody made you into anything.
Yeah.
Because if one abused person can make it and become whatever, a CEO or do whatever, I mean, give me a break. I'm just so sick of it. It's like, just take responsibility. You liked killing. You got off on killing. That's all it was.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It wasn't because your mommy didn't tell you she loved you enough. It wasn't. You know what I mean? You are who you are. I see it with my kids. They're two kids. They're totally different. You know what I mean? And they had the same childhood, basically.
Yeah.
And they're totally different people. It's like, you are who you are.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You can't blame everything on your parents or give them all the credit when they're, you know what I mean? They're good.
I mean, there's something to say about nature versus nurture, but I mean, it's not going to turn you into a psychopath. You know,
No.
It's who you are. It's what you choose to do. And yeah, this man was just straight up born evil.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
100%.
I think we got the title for this episode.
Yeah, really. I mean, this story, like the last couple stories I've done actually have made me believe in nature.
Yeah.
You know, that some people are just born bad.
Yeah.
Just like you had that friend that will give you his last dollar and will always help you move when you're moving.
Yep.
You can have somebody that's born like that, and you can have somebody that's born the opposite way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like everybody's looking for an excuse for it. It's not an excuse.
Yep.
And it may not even be a reason.
Yep.
You know, like, you're born a psychopath. I don't care what anybody says. You're born that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've met some. I've met some.
I absolutely have.
You know? And it's like, do they all kill? No.
No.
You know what I mean? They become CEOs or politicians or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And if they can do that, then it's the choices that they're making that lead them to there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like your callousness and you have a sex drive like that. That's a bad combination.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
but
big
mommy
time.
didn't do that.
No.
You know?
No. Yeah. Yeah, this is just... Yeah.
Everybody gets dark urges or something. You've always had a guy that'll cut you off and you're like, I'm going to kill him. But you don't go and kill him.
Exactly. I mean, that's I think that's human nature.
Exactly.
Everyone has those thoughts where you're just like, whoa, where did that come from, you know? But you should be able to control that urge, you know? There's no
Exactly.
reason why you need to act on that urge. I mean, everyone knows what's good and what's bad, what's wrong and what's right. You know, that should be human nature.
I
in
agree
my opinion, at
100%.
least.
I agree 100%. Yeah, this was a tough one. This guy, I'm glad he's dead. You know, I really, once I got to that point of the story, I'm like, thank God it's at least dead, burning in hell.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that I did see that when I saw, an end date on his, I was like, well, that's good. He's definitely dead, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. He's like, in hell playing with Amelia Dyer or whatever they do, like, unbelievable, these people. But if you like this episode, please rate us and review us.
Yes, we definitely appreciate those. We love those comments. The comments that we've gotten so far were just they excite us. They make us feel great. I really like them. We're gonna read some off soon.
Yes, definitely.
And we really really like the feedback.
Yeah, even if it's negative feedback, somebody told us about the sniffles in the first episode.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. Anything. Like, you just taking the time out of your day to write a review means a lot to us.
Yeah. And by the way, those sniffles, that was my first editing. All right? I'm learning.
But we really do try and put out a good episode for you guys. We really do. We work very, very hard on it. And if you want to write us an email, you can write us an email at murderincorporatedpod@gmail.com.
Yep. We have a Twitter at murderincorporatedpod.
Tweet us, Team Budley. Hashtag Team Budley.
Is it? No, that's our...
I made that up.
Okay. Yeah, otherwise we love you guys.
Yeah, we love you guys. Thank you for listening. And we will see you next week.
And we'll see you next week.
Anything else, buddy?
No, that's it, man. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys so much.